Merry Christmas. I mean, it feels like Christmas. The NBA playoffs begin today, and SportsGrid has you covered. Coach James Young, I'm Kevin Walsh with you for the next 2 hours right here on Betting Above the Rim Pro Basketball. Today, right off of the top, I will let you know that if these 2 hours are not enough for you, you're in luck. In-game live, we'll have the entire slate, including tonight's game, Lakers, Timberwolves. Myself and Coach will run it back right here in person for what should be a very important game number one between Luke and LeBron going up against Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. The play-in has been settled, Coach, and we've got a lot to get to.
Hey, listen, this is the best way to start your day. Forget everybody else. Forget what the four-letter network. You hang out with us now. And then you get us later. We can recap the first three games. And then obviously we got the big one between Minnesota and the Lakers. Shout out, me and Kate we're probably going to be on opposite picks on this series. But that's a story for another day or another minute. But to me, this is the time. This is when you get us at our best, right? It's playoff time. It's serious basketball. All the Washington Wizards and the Brooklyn Nets and the Toronto Raptors and the Utah Jazz. Portland, although I like Chauncey Billups, all of y'all are home. We got the best 16 teams in the league. Time to get down to business.
And we will get through all of the 4 games on today's slate, and we will get into tomorrow's slate as well. I was certainly able to go through at least the 2 series in full depth when we're talking about the 2-7 games. That's Houston and Golden State, and of course, Boston, Orlando. The 1-8's finalized. I don't think anyone is picking either number 1 seed to be knocked off. The question is a matter of how long the series goes, some value, so we will be getting into all of that. We'll give you our picks for these games today. Coach and I very involved in the series market. I was trying to find a way to word this on Twitter last night. I don't know how. I don't think there is anything I don't know if there is anything I like more in sports, period, than series leader markets. I adore them. It brings together all of my favorite worlds, the betting world, the pure basketball world of it all, this league. You can, a Scotia narrative could maybe get in there as well, and those markets develop as well throughout the postseason, which is incredibly important. So we will get into all of this. I want to start with the play-in, though. We lost some relevant teams. And for the first time, JY, we actually saw a 10 seed make the playoffs up from the play-in. That would be the Miami Heat, a 37-45 team, a preseason best bet for me over the win total. And you would have said, hey, they made the playoffs. All right, we should be good to go. Instead, not at all. This is a Miami team that at one point lost 10 consecutive. They were completely done and left for dead. And we'll talk about what type of chance they might have going up against Cleveland. But now, I don't know how you don't see this as a failure for Atlanta. To lose to Orlando, okay, but they were rolled by Orlando. They were non-competitive against Orlando. And they allowed themselves to get jumped on by this Miami team, JY, and eliminated at home. A very bad ending for what could be a very important offseason in ATL.
Yeah, especially after getting rid of DeJounte Murray, at the end of last season, and obviously getting rid of John Collins before that. Yeah. They kind of are now at a point where, is there another reset? Well, where do you go? Do you look at Quinn Snyder and say, by the way, we talk about Doc Rivers, another guy that's tremendously overrated as a coach. Sorry to say that. Actually, I'm not. But then you look at, what do you do? Does Trey get moved and you officially blow this up and start over? Because obviously Trey's going to have something in the open market. I think what I want to look at with Atlanta is, to me, I saw the emergence of a Okongwu the last couple of weeks, and specifically last night. Monster game, obviously, with a Okongwu. 28 points, 12 rebounds. Just showed in 50 minutes, how you doing? Guy got about 3 minutes of rest. And he was sensational last night. You got to start looking at guys like Clint Capella. You have to move on from Capella because Okongwu is showing that he can handle the center position. And a little bit differently offensively, Kevin, in regards to the fact that he could shoot the three a little bit, hit 4 threes last night, but also his ability to play a little bit different coverage and pick and roll, where you could kind of switch, he could hard hedge, where you have a drop guy like Capella, which exposes someone like Trey when Trey's involved in a pick and roll defensively.
The interesting thing about Atlanta is I think they individually have a lot that you can be interested in. You mentioned Onyeka. Dyson Daniels might win Most Improved. He is going to be All-NBA defense this season. Jalen Johnson is someone that I think Atlanta rightfully is very excited about. Did get injured, and he's a big part of the reason why they're not going to make the postseason because of how good he is for them. Richeche really came on in the second half of the season. Some believe he was or could have been Rookie of the Year. I think Steph Castle will ultimately win it. There's elements of this team to be excited about, but is it good enough? Is there enough patience for a Hawks team that, at this point, 4 years or so ago, they were in a conference finals with a much different core at the time. Trae Young wears on people. I'm a Trae Young guy, but I understand it, right? I was a Deshaun Jackson guy. They're not similar, but again, I would be nuts if I didn't understand why people disliked Deshaun Jackson, right? I understand why people don't love Trae Young. But I do, and I just think that this is a Hawks team who patience could be their best bet. It just doesn't feel likely for Dallas, who was eliminated by Memphis despite 40 points from Anthony Davis. They're going to do something crazy this offseason, it feels like to me. Whether that is trading Anthony Davis, whether that is trading for Kevin Durant. But it feels as if Dallas, who has already, done the unthinkable in trading Anthony Davis, at this point, it doesn't seem like there's any stopping it, right? If you're Nico, why stop? What is it? What is the reason to not continue down this pathway? He seemingly has the ability to do whatever he wants. I am sure he'd like to keep Anthony Davis. I wonder how much AD will want to stay in Dallas, assuming, Coach, Kyrie Irving will not be healthy when we're looking towards next season.
Yeah, and I think that's where you have to think about it. It's when do you get Kyrie back? I think that becomes the most critical part with Dallas. To me, it's so funny because Kevin and I were just talking about before the show how after they lost with Luka and Kyrie, were like, team may win the NBA championship next year. And then all of a sudden they blow it up.
Yeah.
There's got to be a corresponding move, right? It's hard for me to say this because I think Nico Harrison just completely messed this whole thing up. I try to hold on to Anthony Davis and get Kyrie back, and then I try to pair a better scoring forward than a PJ Washington, who obviously was terrible last night.
Foul trouble, big time.
Big time foul trouble. 2 fouls first quarter, 3 fouls first half, 4 fouls third quarter. Really not effective.
Yeah.
You got to get a better 4 to go with AD. Now, is that Durant? I don't know. But then I think you got to get rid of one of the other bigs, right? And meaning Daniel Gafford. I think you got to give Lively more minutes and kind of play that and then try to go from there.
I think everything you're saying is reasonable. We have to remember that nobody here in this Dallas team is acting reasonable. It includes Anthony Davis, and it's a big reason why I do think the Lakers ultimately were willing to move him. AD does not want to play the 5. It's why Derek Lively and Gafford on this roster is really important, actually, to them. It's going to be a fascinating...
Play the 5.
I'll say this.
Play the damn 5. You shoot 20% from 3. Stick your 7 foot behind, get in the low post, and go to work. Cat can be a 5 and shoot 3s. Porzingis should be a 5 and shoot 3s.
It's not even that. He doesn't want to be a defensive 5, which is even more bizarre. We go from AD's current team to his former team. Luka and the Lakers. That's next right here on BATR.
Ozempic.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Their head coach has experience making deep playoff runs in Ime Udoka, and they have a point guard in Fred VanVleet that's won a title. So they're not completely foreign to all of this. If you're leaning either way, take the over 5.5 games, or for a little bit more money, plus 1.5 games for the Houston Rockets. It will go at least 6.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, and that'll be the exact case for Coach and I. And, well, how many hours now would that be? 10 hours. We will be breaking down Lakers Timberwolves following the entirety of game number 1. And what an important game it will be. This is the biggest game on today's slate. It is arguably the biggest series of round number 1. And the Los Angeles Lakers enter this series as favorites. They are rightfully booked as favorites. But when we were sat at this desk last Saturday, Coach, we discussed whether the Lakers would want to play either Minnesota or Golden State. Those were likely the two matchups. It ended up being Minnesota due to the Warriors' loss in Game 82 at home to the LA Clippers. You were very adamant, certainly on that day, that the Timberwolves would be a tough matchup for the Lakers. As you were able to dive in more and more with the numbers set, how do you feel about LA, Minnesota?
I think it's just going to be an absolute war. I look at Minnesota as a team with, and this is why this series is so fascinating. Folks, let's be honest. You have 3 of the top 10 players in the world playing in the series. No other series that I think has 3 of the top 10 in it, right? So, to me, you have superstar power. You have a team in the Lakers obviously trying to get LeBron that one last ring, one more time. Yeah. Maybe even 2, depending on, obviously if they can go on a run the next 2 years. Versus the Minnesota team that we forgot got to the Western Conference Finals last year, traded Cat for Julius Randle, which we're all befuddled by. But then a team that started slow, but then got hot towards the end of the year. I think this is such a fascinating matchup because of the coaching matchup. I really look at inside as where this series is going to go. It's going to be a chess match between Finch and Redick. Here's why. When you look at Rudy Gobert, a polarizing figure, in the playoffs, he should be more effective because the game slows down and the Lakers are not the type of team that's going to want to run the ball up the floor. But then JJ could turn around and pivot and say, I want to take Rudy out of the game. Or, in fact, I want to go smaller, put Rui Hachimura in the game, then make Finch counter with Naz Reid. Or does JJ look at it and say, drop coverage, Rudy Gobert, pick and roll, Luka Doncic, how you doing? Then there's the whole other side of, what are we getting out of Ant? I'm of this firm belief, folks, that Ant's got another gear, another level that he can get to. Whereas, top 7, 8 player in the world, maybe you're saying at the end of this playoffs, he could be top 5 in the world, especially if you look at guys like Embiid getting injured and stuff like that, dropping down. There are intriguing betting markets in regards to series spread, number of games. I mean, Kevin will talk about it. You probably missed the mark on some of the ant props to lead the series in some categories, but there still is one that I'm really intrigued with Ant in this series.
So one thing that jumped off the page to me, and I don't think it's going to be to this level, Anthony Edwards averaged under 20 points per game against the Lakers. Only team in the league that he played more than twice, that was true. Only the fourth team overall, regardless of games played, that he played this year and didn't average at least 20 points per game. I think if you're the Lakers, sometimes we talk about, is it let the star get theirs and nobody else beats us? Or is it, okay, make everybody else beat us? And I think it's a clear-cut make everybody else beat you series, because Rudy Gobert is not known for having offensive moves, and Julius Randle has a negative postseason pedigree. And at that point, then you're asking Naz Reid or Mike Conley to potentially step up and be an offensive engine, and that is not going to be a legitimate pathway for Minnesota. I think the pathway for the Timberwolves is actually to be excellent offensively. It is one of the overarching themes for me heading into the Lakers this postseason. I actually think the way to beat them is to be top tier on the offensive side of the ball. It's very difficult to stop a Luka and LeBron tandem. Flatly, it just is. Remember, when the Lakers assembled this new iteration of themselves, the worry was, can they guard? Make that the question of the series and see if you can make the answer to that no. I'm playing over in game number 1, that total at 216. The other thing that I'm going to play, game number 1 over the course of the series, most unbiased man history of sports media, Timberwolves game 1, Lakers to win the series. A plus 500 price on DraftKings that I think is absolutely worth it. I think should be much shorter. If Minnesota does pull off the upset tonight, the Lakers won't even be close to 5-1 to win the series. That number will be lucky if it was plus 180 for the Lakers to win the series if they did drop this game tonight. The Minnesota Timberwolves coach, though, must win game 1. You cannot beat LeBron if he wins the opening game. And Luke has a bad track record in game number 1. Luke has only won game 1 of a series twice. And now one of them last year was against Minnesota in the conference finals. I think there's a chance Minnesota jumps them tonight. I think the value is undeniable. I still think regardless, the Lakers will end up winning this series in 5 or 6 games.
So this is where Kevin and I are going opposite. I actually like the Lakers minus the points, but I think this series goes long.
Interesting.
I think that Ant's going to be able to try and impose his will on the offensive side of the floor. And that's probably going to be Ant being guarded by Reeves, because then you probably have to go ahead and have protect Luka and then have Luka guard Conley. So that's probably where you see the matchups. I also think, when you look at this series today, Naz Reid over 16.5 points plus rebounds. I think the Randall thing is real. I'm a Knicks fan, so I know it's real. And the Rudy thing is real. So that means Naz has to have a step-up spot in this game, in this series. Over 16.5 points plus rebounds. Ant leads the series in scoring plus money. And then the wild one, just a smidge, because I think Naz plays a critical role. Naz Reid to possibly lead the series in rebounding. He's going to play big minutes if they go small with Rui.
That is going to be one of the most fascinating things possible. I have some Rudy Gobert action for the people that we'll get to in a little bit, but we now get to maybe the toughest series in round number 1 to pick, Nuggets, Clippers. One aspect of this series pushed me over the edge to a certain winner. I'll let you know what that is with Coach next, right here on SportsGrid.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Their head coach has experience making deep playoff runs in Ime Udoka, and they have a point guard in Fred VanVleet that's won a title. So they're not completely foreign to all of this. If you're leaning either way, take the over 5.5 games, or for a little bit more money, plus 1.5 games for the Houston Rockets. It will go at least 6.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here on SportsGrid. Coach James Young, Kevin Walsh, Nuggets Clippers. This number has been moving throughout the lead up to this game number 1, which will be in the 3:30 window today. And it has now found us with a new favorite in this series. It is now minus 118, Coach, for the Clippers to win this series. In front of you on the TV side are your game number 1 odds, but you see the series price is reflective of the Clippers at minus 118. Even money on the consensus best player in the world to win a round 1 series where his team has home court advantage. That is not a common occurrence. Where did you land on Denver, LA?
Buckle up. I mean, buckle up. I mean, just think about what Kevin is saying and just look at the fact that the series spread, Denver plus 1.5 games is minus 180.
Mm-hmm.
What are the books telling you? It's going 7.
Yeah.
It's telling you it's going 7, and it's a matter of what do you trust. Now, I'm under the belief that Michael Malone is one of the 10 best coaches in the world. But that doesn't mean at some point you flame out and you got to make a change. What I've seen out of Denver the last 3 games leading up to the playoffs is obviously the need to win to stay out of the play-in. But I saw a better and more locked-in defensive team than I saw before that 4-game losing streak. But then you look at the Clippers, they've won 8 games in a row. Harden goes absolutely nuclear. So now, where am I at? I'm on Denver in 7. Here's why. Because of the fact that it's in Denver, I'm going to trust the best player in the world, and I'm going to go back to track record. James Harden, Game 7s, go look it up. Just I don't even have to go through. If I'm not mistaken, Kevin, I don't think he scored more than 21 points in a Game 7 in his career. And he's got some awful numbers in a Game 7. To me, because it's home, it's Harden, I'm going to go with in a fantastic series. Denver wins in 7.
Coach, we're seeing it the same. I also am picking Denver in 7. I did not wager on any of the series. I didn't bet the Nuggets at even money to win the series. I didn't bet Denver in exactly 7. What I wanted to bet, but I didn't think was good enough value, was Denver game 1 and Denver to win the series. I thought since they're a dog, I thought maybe we would get 2-1. We're only seeing around plus 160. I am on Denver here today, minus 2.5 points in the opener. I am fading Harden out of the gate. Maybe the gap from when they beat the Warriors to today is big enough. Harden having a game like that will happen in this series. It's that they are almost always followed up with terrible games. This is a very, very important Harden series. If you want to kind of Jokic versus Kawhi, it'll be close. Jokic should win, but if Kawhi is healthy, he is an elite postseason performer. The swing of this series could be Jamal Murray and James Harden. And if you like Harden to win that matchup, this could very well be Clippers in 5. You could sell me on that. I ultimately think it is more of a war. I think it is less consistency from Harden. And I said there was one thing that pushed me over the edge to picking Denver to win that Game 7, and it is Jamal Murray. Last year, Game 7, Denver on their home court did lose, but not because of Jamal Murray and not because of Nikola Jokic, as they combined for 69 of the 90 points scored by that team. Jamal Murray might have a tough series. Chris Dunn is fantastic. I don't think this is a Norman Powell series, by the way. I don't think he should be playing a ton for the Clippers. We'll see how the rotation certainly works. But I think if you get to a 7th game, Jamal Murray will be great. He might struggle. He might struggle today. He's going to struggle in L.A. That's going to happen. He's going to struggle on the road in the playoffs. But at Game 7, as long as Jokic gets his co-star ready to rock, which I think he will, I think they survive and advance here as a dog against the Clippers.
Yeah, and I think when you look at James Harden, folks, I'm going to say this. I think this is the last opportunity for his legacy. And hear me out. This guy is 11th all-time in scoring, 13th in assists. But you don't classify him as a winner. If there's a Game 7 and he goes another dud, it will hurt his legacy more than it's already been hurt. Doesn't win enough.
I'll tell you what, man. Harden legacy talk is a good one, and one we can get into another time. We head to the Garden. Knicks Pistons is next.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
Would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
Knicks Pistons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've been waiting for this one.
I'm nervous.
Oh, I know you are.
I'm nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
I know you are.
The second most unbiased man in gambling.
Here's the deal. All right. JY is a little nervy for the series because the Knicks, if they advance and they play Boston, you'll hope they can do well. But what were we supposed to do? Defending champs, they'll be favored. You go back to last year, right? The Knicks play the Sixers in round number 1. A lot of people were picking Philadelphia, I believe myself included. Then they went on to play the Pacers, and Indiana had some juice. And by the time the series was over, the Knicks were injured. It was all forgivable. What the Knicks have on their hands in this series is something that would be unforgivable and would require some level of change, I would imagine, if they do not get out of this series against the Detroit Pistons. If I told you it was Knicks-Pistons round number 1 preseason, you wouldn't have believed me. Flatly. You just wouldn't have. So we're here. So, Coach, I'll let you dance first. What do you like here? New York and Detroit.
I think it's going to be a battle, and the guy over Kevin's shoulder, over his right shoulder, is going to be a problem. You talk about villains all the time, right? Reggie Miller, Trae Young.
Yes, sir.
Here comes another one, and his name is Cade Cunningham. Because his ability to score and literally going nuclear on the Knicks. You also look at the fact of the guy guarding him, the guy over my right shoulder, Jalen Brunson, make sure I get it right, is not a strong defender. You also have, what do they call them, second-round Tibbs. Because Tibbs gets to the playoffs, he gets to the second round, and then his team flames out. So this is a critical time because with New York, they have waited so long. They haven't been to the Eastern Conference Finals since 99. They haven't been to the NBA Finals since 94. Right? I did 99 as well, but obviously 94 as well when they lost to Houston in 7 games. This is such a critical moment for this franchise because they've gone all in the last year and a half, right? Go get OG. Go get Bridges, give up 5 picks. Too many. We know. Go get Cat. You can't, Kevin, keep turning over the roster. At some point, you got to start looking at, do you try to find a different voice? And I think in New York, you may not hear it a lot, but I'll say it. If the Knicks don't win, Tibbs is gone. He's gone. Because there are 2 people that you have New York ties that you can hire. Number 1, don't laugh at me, Johnny Bryant. He was the associate head coach the last couple of years. Went with Kenny Atkinson. Very well respected, really close with a lot of those Knicks guys, including Jalen Brunson. The second is Michael Malone. New York City guy. Dad Brendan was an assistant coach for when Isaiah was there. And although the Knicks, you don't want to say the words Isaiah Thomas in New York, he still has James Dolan's ear. That's like family, Michael Malone. But when you look at the series, the best bet to me is over 5.5 games. Here's why. If Detroit wins, and I think the Knicks are going to win it, okay? If Detroit wins it, it is not going to be in 4 or 5 games. They're going to need 6 to close out at home or steal it in MSG in a Game 7. The Knicks aren't good enough to sweep them. Could they win in 5? Yes. But I'm going to take the chances of 4 out of 5 chances I think it's going to ends with it in 6 or 7 games. My best bet in this series, it goes over 5.5. It will be a tough series. And if this comes down to Tibbs, and I'm going to be honest with you, what you get out of OG and Bridges. The Knicks' offense was dynamic the first half of the year. I think they were top 2 or 3 in offensive rating. It fell off a cliff. Brunson got hurt. OG and Mikal stepped up, particularly OG. If the Knicks are going to make this a short series, if possible, I think people need to realize that OG and Mikal have to be, it's a big step-up spot for them in this series. They have to play really, really well.
So I think that the Knicks enter this series as pretty big favorites. bigger than I would have expected, yet I agree ultimately with where it's landed. I expect to win. I'm very confident the Knicks will win this series. You push me for games, I'll tell you it's 5. If it went 6, okay. I think that the Knicks will get this done, Coach, because I look at Detroit, and Cade has to be great to even give him a chance. Option number 2 for this team might be Malik Beasley, and I know Beasley could end up winning 6th Man of the Year. It's going to either be him or Peyton Pritchard. I think that is a lot to ask for your 6th Man of the Year. There's elements that I think Jalen Duren will perform well in this series. We'll get into that. But one of the swings that I've been waiting all year for the Knicks was when Mitchell Robinson would come back. Offensive ratings of 140, defensive ratings comfortably the best on the team. It's weird because of how top-heavy this team is that Mitchell Robinson matters, but he does. And the Knicks can play Mitchell Robinson in 2 big lineups because Cat was comfortable with it with Rudy Gobert. And you don't lose any shooting because Karl Anthony Towns is one of the greatest shooting 7-footers the NBA has ever seen. So for the New York Knicks, where this series comes down to, Brunson, I expect to be postseason Brunson. I think Bridges will be a little bit better than he was in the regular season. I think OG Anunoby is trending. The swing of this series is Cat. The swing of their postseason might be Cat. Was great against the Phoenix Suns last year, round number 1. Pretty good against Denver, round number 2. Stunk up the joint in the Western Conference Finals. But here's the thing. Cat just had one of his best seasons in like 5 years with the Knicks. Cat's going to make All-NBA this year pretty comfortably. Cat would have been on my All-NBA team. So I view this as a situation where the Knicks just have way too much. And with home court advantage, I think it is theirs. I am on the under here, though, Coach, for this game. I mentioned Mitchell Robinson coming back. I think the Knicks defense will be significantly better now that the postseason has begun. And I think the Detroit offense will struggle a little bit outside of Cade Cunningham, and especially game number 1 where Cade makes his postseason debut.
And I think Kevin makes some valid points. Here's what I want you to watch. I want you to watch how much Mitchell Robinson plays with Cat. I want you to understand something. Simply put, I just looked this up. Less than 5 feet away from the basket. It's the most amount of shots that Cade shoots during the season.
Yep.
He's only at 56.4%. Mm-hmm. That's not good. That means that's getting to the rim. So if you're Tibbs, you bring Mitchell Robinson in the game.
Yeah.
Because now you have an elite shot blocker down the play. Watch that matchup very closely. Because also Mitchell Robinson won't play drop coverage. He'll hard hedge, and he'll make Cade turn the corner and get to the basket. Cat is more of a drop coverage guy. So also, when you're watching games and you're betting stuff live, look at how they're using Mitchell Robinson. And if you see him getting in there early and you can get on stocks, steals plus blocks, you look at Mitchell Robinson because not only his ability to block shots at the rim, he's actually one of the best bigs in the NBA, probably the best at blocking threes. So if Cade tries to shoot behind the 3, he's going to go up and he's going to test that shot.
It's a great breakdown. I'm really fascinated to see how Detroit kind of runs their rotations. I expect Tobias Harris to be boxed up by OG Anunoby throughout this series. I think Asert Thompson eventually is going to be really good. I'm not sure if today he's going to be really good going up against Josh Hart. Did you
just say Tobias Harris?
He's going to get boxed up by OG Anunoby. Well, that's
get from that sucker.
Pacers, Bucks.
Detroit basketball.
It's next.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweights.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
Pacers Bucks will begin today's postseason action at 1 o'clock. We will be in Indiana, where the Pacers are a current 5.5-point favorite against Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. That number climbing a little bit up to 6 in some spots. And this series is so fascinating because you have Giannis entering this series playing as good of basketball as he has ever played in his career, quite frankly. Giannis playing 6 games in the month of April, 32, 12, and 12 is what he averaged in that span. Giannis quietly averaging 30.5 points per game with 12 boards and 6.5 assists on 60% shooting is also amazing. And he's not in the MVP race, really, yet will finish third on maybe every single ballot and is going to be unanimous first-team All-NBA and should be. The question, though, is can Giannis break through now that he looks to be healthy and get this Bucks team on a run? Can he beat the Indiana Pacers largely by himself? If he does, at that point, Damian Lillard might be back. One of the things hanging over this series is a potential Damian Lillard return. Giannis has, I think, been given a lot of leeway for his inavailability because he does have a championship and because Embiid's is talked about way more. But Giannis has sneaky not held up enough. You know what Giannis averaged last year against the Pacers in the postseason? Doesn't exist. He didn't play. This time he does. And if you are on the Bucks, the general you, it is because of a sole belief in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Do you have that belief, Coach, in Giannis to beat the Indiana Pacers in this series?
KW, when you really think about it, does he have the ability to take over this series? Absolutely. My concern is twofold. Number one, when you get Dame back, because I think people have to understand Dame was brought in not to be Batman except for the last 2 minutes. Meaning, he's your closer. Sure. He's your Mariano because of his ability to create and get shots on his own and hit big shot after big shot. I don't know if there's a better big shot taker, maybe him and Trey, I would say, in regards to the ability to hit like daggers, game-ending daggers, right? So my problem is we don't know when we're getting Dame back. And obviously you have to ramp him up after being off of the blood thinner. The other problem is, y'all know where I'm going, Glenn Doc Rivers. this is a guy that continues to get outcoached in big spots. This is a guy that can't seem to make adjustments during series. And I think he's going against Rick Carlisle, who I believe is one of the most underrated coaches in the history of this league. This series is also going to be about pace. The Pacers, these two guys, are going to want to run. Milwaukee's going to have to slow it up with Giannis to save his legs, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth. It gets up and down. Pacers win this series. I'm taking a minus 1.5 games, and I will go on record and say this. When they lose, Giannis will ask himself out of Milwaukee. Giannis will be traded at the end of the year, or during the summer. He said it before the season. He said, Eastern Conference, or I got to start reevaluating my options, or to paraphrase what he said. If they get by this series and they play Cleveland, yeah, they could. If they lose in 6, then he may say, all right, you know what, we're close. We can run it back. Dame wasn't all the way back. We can make another move. But I think he looks around at the East and sees how young Boston is, how good Cleveland is, that the Knicks are in their window. Does Philadelphia turn it around, right, if everybody's healthy? You look at Orlando, young team. These young teams, he's looking around saying, I don't know if I don't make a run this year with this old roster. I don't know when the run is coming. So I think if and when they lose, I think Giannis is going to ask out of Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think it's very possible that he does that. I think that Milwaukee could also look to move off from Doc Rivers if he is eliminated in round number 1, both years as at the helm of this basketball team.
And real quick, and I don't mean to bring this up from last year. If they flame out and lose in the first round, how bad does it look, especially on Giannis, that they fired Adrian Griffin after being 30-11?
But again, so the bizarre part of it all is, like, them losing last year to Indiana is because of injuries. Right. They had a chance to win that series without Giannis, actually, but then Dame ended up getting injured, and I mean, the whole thing was a disaster. But I actually, again, Giannis has been given a lot of grace. He's not only not been available enough for this team, Giannis was a big part of a lot of moves that they've made, whether that's firing Budenholzer, firing Griffin, trading Drew Holiday, trading Chris Middleton, right? He's a part of all of this, and none of it seems to be working. But that doesn't stop guys from leaving, because then that just can be what it is. Ultimately, as I look at this series, I do expect the Pacers to win it. I'm betting the Pacers to win correct score 4-2 plus 540. This is the Bucks almost don't even matter in the series. It's about whether or not Indiana has a good offensive game or not, because I don't think the Bucks can actually guard this team.
No.
Because the Pacers' offense is engine-esque. Halliburton found his level, and this team, when they score 120, I don't think the Bucks will have enough in the tank. If you look at Giannis, who again was out of control, great to end the season, the first 5 games of that run, they were 2-3. The only good team that they played in the win streak with Giannis, really, Minnesota, and that required a 24-point fourth quarter comeback in their own building. That's not sustainable. It's just not. And this is a Pacers team. I thought this was just such a great example down the stretch. They went to Denver without Pascal Siakam. Jokic went for 41, 15, and 13. Halliburton scored 9 points. They won the game by 5.
I think the other thing real quick is they have more depth than you think. Remember last year, Bennett Mathurin was out.
They don't have star depth. They just got a lot of
guys. They got a lot of guys, and they're going to run Milwaukee out of the building.
We button up your Saturday slate next, right here on Pro Basketball Today.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. contagious? Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribes, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
Betting Above the Rim is back right here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh, Coach James Young. At the top of the hour, we will take a look towards this offseason. A lot of interesting items, including everything involving the Phoenix Suns. We will also preview your Sunday NBA slate. We will go through, of course, your Saturday games again, but I kind of wanted to weave in and out here of some of the items that we didn't get to bring up just yet. One off the top for me is Knicks Pistons series rebound leader. Give me Jalen Duren at plus 250. Karl Anthony Towns is the understandable favorite in this market. I think you're going to be surprised with what you see, though, from Jalen Duren, who is one of the most important Pistons in this series. This is not a team loaded with center depth. The Pistons really went for it against Milwaukee in Game 81, and they played Jalen Duren 39 minutes in that spot. 39 minutes, okay? Grabbed 16 rebounds. If you look at the top 24-minute games he played this season, 24 most minutes, okay? Only twice did he not grab 10-plus rebounds. Only 4 times did he miss out on a double-double. And when he plays at least 32 minutes a game, in a game, averages 13.1 rebounds per game. Duren series rebound leader, one of my looks, Coach, at a plus 250 price.
For me, 2 things for this series really quick. Or one for the game, one for the series. I obviously have to go over 5.5 games. I just think there's no way that I think the Knicks are going to sweep. Maybe they win in 5, but more likely 6 and 7. I think Detroit, if they win, it's only going to be 6 and 7. They're not good enough to win it in 5 or 4. When you get to a prop today, I'm going Deuce McBride. I think Deuce is going to play a critical moment in this series. He's got to guard Cade. Yep. Especially if Cade goes up, and Deuce is sneaky good offensively, gotten a lot better, and it started to earn Tibbs' trust starting last year. Look at Deuce McBride, over 11 in the last 12 games, 3 out of 4 versus Detroit. He plays big minutes. Deuce McBride, over 6.5 points, with a little sprinkle of plus 240 for him to score 10-plus today.
All right, little love for Deuce from Coach. Clippers, Nuggets. I'm going to back Kawhi's rebounds and assists throughout this series. This is a moving number. Your 9.5s were around minus 110, minus 115. I think they have been moving in the market. But I'm also going to be playing a Kawhi double-double throughout this series. Kawhi has a double-double in 36% of his games as a Clipper in the postseason. In the regular season, just 13%. Well, it's the postseason. Kawhi will be hitting the glass. He'll be passing a little bit more. His usage climbs up massively. So Kawhi over the 9.5 rebounds plus assists is hopefully a series-long play before it gets on the move too much, as well as a double-double shot for me on Kawhi throughout the length of this series, Coach.
And I think this series is just going to be so intriguing. Obviously, I like to go 7 games. I am going to take the Nuggets to win in 7. So if you want to look at it that way as well. Today, for me, it's simple. It's just Nuggets on the money line. I think Kevin made such a great point with James Harden. I'm so worried about Game 7 and him not showing up. That's why I like him in 7. But there's also the James Harden after a big game, James Harden. I know it's a little bit of a layoff about a week, but I could see, honestly, can you see a 4 for 15 performance out of James Harden today? I can. Can you see Nikola Jokic going absolutely nuclear today, which he's obviously went down the stretch. Now, I don't even know what his triple-double number is right now. It's probably not anything that's worth taking, to be honest with you. Nikola Jokic's triple-double is at plus 125. So, maybe I think he gets a triple-double. I think he's going to implant himself in the series early and often. I think he goes for a triple-double today.
All right, so a little TD love there from JY. Let's see, what other stones did we not turn over? Oh.
Lakers.
All right, so this is, I wish I could give you more time on this. I'm going to throw something crazy at you. If we have more time, we'll dissect it tonight on the show. I think Rudy Gobert, at some point in this series, should try to be the one who guards LeBron. I'm going to leave it at that for now, and we'll get into it maybe in...
I need 8 hours.
Yeah. you have 9 hours to digest that. You have 9 hours to digest that.
That's a lot.
I am on Rudy Gobert over 11.5 points. Gobert's been upping his score average over the last 2 months. I think that is very much a number of, they're going to play him off the court. It's game 1. If you're Minnesota, you do not tap out and submit, we can't play Gobert in this series in the opening game. I like Gobert over 11.5 points tonight, Coach.
I like Naz Reid over 16.5 points plus rebounds. I think whether it's Gobert or Randall, he's going to play a critical role in this series, in this game. And I do like the Lakers minus the points. I think they hold serve at least for game number 1.
We are going to get to the offseason craziness that awaits us next on BATR right here on SportsGrid.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribes, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.